Hello everyone. On behalf of DQS, greetings and welcome to the DQS Food Safety webinar entitled as Empowering Everyone on Food Safety and Food Safety Certification. And this will be wholeheartedly shared in an impartial and transparent manner. First, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Kamlesh Guzadhur, representing the Center of Excellence for Food Division at DQS South Africa, with 9 years of work experience in the certification industry as well as 15 years of work experience in the food industry so far. For this DQS Food Safety webinar, the agenda will be first on food security at local and international level. Then a brief overview will be provided on mitigating food safety risk with a modern food safety system. The third topic will be about the food safety compliance levels, and the fourth topic will be on which GFSI recognized scheme can fit your business. And lastly, there will be the final concluding remarks on food safety certification, just to give insight to everyone involved in the food industry. From the World Food Safety Day in July 2024, the facts and figures were truly alarming, especially 1 in 10 people falling ill from contaminated food each year. 200 diseases are caused by eating contaminated food. Children under 5, which consists 9% of the population so far, carry 40% of the foodborne diseases. These above data really are a stark reminder of the importance of food safety. And collectively, we must prioritize efforts to prevent food contamination, improve our food handling and processing facilities, and ensuring rigorous regulatory measures to safeguard public health. Therefore, a new global strategy impacting on food safety system has been deemed important to tackle the global food safety threats, environmental challenges, rise of new technologies, increasing demands for food safety, demographic changes, global changes on the food supply chain, as well as changing expectations and behavior on the consumers to mitigate any food safety risk. The next topic of the DQS Food Safety webinar will highlight on the food security at local and international level. Food security is a topic of the day. Food security, how do we define food security? Is when all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to food, which is safe and consumed in sufficient quantity and quality to meet their dietary needs and food preferences, and is supported by an environment of adequate water and sanitation, health services and care, allowing for healthy and active life. And without food safety, there is no food security. Food insecurity persists as a major problem around the world. In 2024, the food insecurity as a result of domestic food price inflation in low and middle income countries is likely to remain one of the world's most pressing concerns, especially in Africa. In the current slide, as you can see, the color in concerned countries of the world map becomes darker orange or red color. It shows that food security is becoming more and more severe, with high susceptibility of living a day or more without food. It's very, very important to understand the concept of food insecurity right now. The climate change on global food systems have also been acknowledged as #1 global risk in 10 years' time in exacerbating the issues of food security. The world ecosystem are experiencing rapid change and often immense damage. Climate change is putting even more pressure on the resources we depend on. When natural disasters like drought, flood, and insect infestation grow in frequency and severity, more people grow hungry. Any rural families can no longer make ends meet on their land. Climate-related disasters, including extreme heat and drought, floods and storm, are becoming more frequent than ever before. These disasters harm agricultural productivity, which means food availability suffers. With this comes a domino effect, causing food prices to skyrocket and income losses that prevent people from being able to afford food. Rising temperatures and changing precipitation patterns can create favorable conditions for the proliferation of foodborne pathogens. This increases the risk of foodborne illnesses, which can cause severe public health implications. With increased risk of foodborne diseases, our food insecurity and food safety are jeopardized. South Africa is reported to be among the top 20 emitters of greenhouse gases and the top emitter in Africa. It is also reported to be among the world top coal producers and fourth biggest exporter. Although South Africa has included renewable energy in its energy mix, it continues to heavily rely on coal for 70% of its energy demand. As a water-scarce country, South Africa is particularly vulnerable to the impact of climate change also. Extreme weather events have become more intense because of climate change, such as flooding. If all remember, in April 2022, more floods occurred in both KwaZulu-Natal and in the Eastern Cape that killed about 450 people, displaced over 40,000 people, destroyed more than 12,000 homes, according to the United Nations. In 2015, world leaders agreed to 17 global goals, officially known as the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, aiming to create a better world by 2030. By ending poverty, by fighting inequality, by promoting peace and justice, as well as addressing the urgency of environmental degradation and climate change. The related SDGs to food safety are the SDG 01 in achieving no poverty, SDG 02 in achieving zero hunger, SDG 6 in achieving clean water and sanitation, and SDG 12 in achieving responsible consumption and production. At present, South Africa ranks 110 out of 160 countries, whereby South Africa needs to spend on transport, water and sanitation, basic education, and technical and vocational education, as well as training, to close the SDGs in these sectors until 2030. Now we come to the next topic, which is mitigating food safety risk with modern food safety management system. Unsafe food is recognized at the national and international levels as an important public health and trade issue. Globally, in Africa, more exactly south of Sub-Saharan Africa and emerging Asia, have the highest incidence of and death rate from foodborne diseases. The economic consequences of foodborne diseases in Africa are correspondingly severe, with high annual cost of treating the foodborne illnesses. Other costs, although harder to quantify, include losses of farm and company sales, foregone trade income, the health repercussions on consumer avoidance, of perishable yet nutrient-rich foods and the environmental burden of food waste. The International Food Safety Authorities Network, abbreviated as INFOSAN, which is a global network of 186 national food safety authorities and managed jointly by the FAO and World Health Organization, aims to halt the international spread of contaminated food, prevent foodborne disease outbreaks, and strengthen the food safety systems globally to reduce the burden of foodborne illnesses. For the period of July to September 2023, INFOSAN reported 32 food safety incidents. These were regard to the biological hazard, including Salmonella species, Listeria monocytogenes, Clostridium botulinum, Bacillus cereus, Shigella species, E. coli, norovirus, and Staphylococcus. There were also incidents from undeclared allergen, which involved the gluten, almonds, egg, and peanuts. And then there were remaining 6 incidents for the period of July to September 2023 on the physical hazard as well as a chemical hazard. As for the food categories, the most implicated food safety incident was with regard to fish and other seafood, followed by milk and dairy, meat and meat products, as well as snacks and desserts. In 2023, Food and Drug Administration, abbreviated as FDA, which is responsible for protecting the public health by assuring the safety and efficacy and security of human beings, reported the most common causes of food safety recalls as follows: from undeclared allergen, Listeria monocytogenes, especially from the ready-to-eat meat products, Salmonella, and foreign materials such as wood, plastic, metal, and glass. In South Africa, recalls are primarily regulated by the Consumer Protection Act, CPA. The CPA applies generally to goods supplied to consumers and broadly define goods as anything marketed for human consumption or any other tangible product. Recalls of specific products are also regulated more directly in sector-specific legislation. The CPA provides 2 categories of recall. Firstly, it is the voluntary recall undertaken by suppliers when they proactively identify a risk or potential harm posed to consumers from its products and want to manage that risk and its potential liability to consumers. The second recall is mandatory and required by the National Consumer Commission, the NCC, when there are reasonable ground to believe that any particular goods may be unsafe or that there is a potential risk to the public from the continued use or exposure to the goods that can pose a hazard to the health and safety of the consumer. The latest product recall in South Africa occurred from the potential incidence of aflatoxin in peanut butter, if all of you remember, and could have posed serious health hazard to the consumer by some carcinogenic or mutagenic toxins produced from the mold Aspergillus species and the high moisture content. 10 years ago, food safety was seen as planning measures and actions to ensure the concept of safety as a preventative approach. At present, it is required to present objective evidence that the planned measures have been implemented effectively and efficiently, enough in practice to ensure that the food consumed will not have an adverse health effect on the consumer. The new versions of the food safety standards have shifted from prevention to identifying and planning action to address problems and risks. Risk management is seen as a systematic application of policies, procedures, and practice to manage information sharing, consultation, identification of circumstances, and risk identification, analysis, assessment, impact, and monitoring and review. Risk of biological, chemical, and physical contamination are the primary focus of any food safety management system. Adopting risk-based thinking or risk-based approach ensures organizations that they are proactive in identifying and averting potential risk, which can lead to continuous improvement and customer satisfaction. As a team, a food safety management system is a set of programs and procedures based on good manufacturing practice as well as the principles of HACCP, which is the hazard analysis and critical control point system. Risk assessments are part of any modern food safety management system and rely on the process control to improve the level of risk reduction. The modern food safety management system not only focuses on the HACCP but also on TACCP and VACCP to mitigate any potential food safety risk. The HACCP system, known as Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points, is a globally recognized food safety management system that ensures the manufacturing of safe food products. It helps businesses to identify and manage any potential hazards in their production processes. Usually, the application of HACCP involves the 5 preliminary steps and 7 principles. It is important to note that in February 2023, the Codex Alimentarius Commission reported the adoption of the revised General Principles of Food Hygiene, CXC 1969. Changes to the 7 principles of the hazard analysis and critical control point system, the HACCP system, in Codex Recommended International Code of Practice, the General Principle of Food Hygiene 2020, are highlighted in the presentation below, with additional word validated in HACCP Principle 3 and HACCP Principle 6. The updated HACCP system now requires businesses to establish validation requirements for their prevention control. Once preventive controls are put in place, businesses must continually monitor the effectiveness. Additionally, businesses must establish clear protocol for resolving any issues that arise during the validation process. Another additional change to the HACCP was about the recognition of the hazards. The updated HACCP system now requires businesses to establish validation requirements for their preventive control. Once the preventive controls are put in place, businesses now continually monitor the effectiveness of the preventive control. Additionally, businesses must establish clear protocols for resolving any issue that arise during the validation process. The new changes to HACCP also recognize that not all hazards are created equal, and that businesses must make risk-based decisions when it comes to addressing hazards. The revised CCP Decision 3 by the Codex Committee on Food Hygiene now involves answering 4 questions instead of previous use 5 questions. These questions must be answered in order. The answer to each question will either be yes or no, as shown in the presentation. Keep in mind, as part of completing a hazard analysis, you are required to identify significant hazards. You will therefore use a decision tree to answer the 4 questions about the significant hazards you have identified in your process. Now we come to TACEP. TACEP is the threat assessment and critical control point. TACEP focuses on international, ideologically driven adulteration of food whose motivation is to cause harm to the consumer. To ensure companies having an effective food defense plan, a threat assessment should be carried out first to identify all the potential threats to product safety and general production processes. The purpose of a food defense plan is to protect against acts intended to cause harm to the public, consumers and companies from within the manufacturing site. Usually, the most common controls for food defense include proper fencing, security cameras, sign-in, sign-out procedures in place, and the man security in the organization, in the facility. Now we come to VASAP, which stands as Vulnerability Assessment and Critical Control Points. The VASAP focuses on preventative measures to prevent any adulteration for financial gain, that is food fraud. In the supply chain, food fraud is especially concerned with economically motivated intentional adulteration. Example of food fraud can include counterfeiting, which is recognized as the most common means in committing food fraud. It involves copying of brand names, logos, colors, packaging design, recipes, processing method, etc. Food fraud can also occur through dilution, whereby a liquid ingredient of high value is mixed with a liquid of lower value. Then there is also substitution, when ingredient or part of the product of high value is replaced with another ingredient or part of the product of lower value. Also, concealment is another type of food fraud, whereby low quality food ingredients or product are sold as premium quality. For example, selling of low quality herbs and spices as high quality spices. Mislabeling is also considered as food fraud, whereby false claims are made on the packaging simply for economic gain by, for example, selling refined palm oil as olive oil or soya oil. Food fraud can also occur through unapproved enhancement, undeclared, unknown or unapproved additives in the product in order to enhance the quality attributes of the product. This usually occur in an attempt to improve the quality attributes of food products such as color, taste, flavor, etc. Seafood, spices and spice extracts, oils and fats, Meat and meat products, honey and natural sweeteners were reported as the most common food items experiencing food fraud, mainly through substitution, unapproved additive, counterfeiting, or mislabeling. Traceability within food control system is also recognized as a tool to control food hazards, provide reliable product information, and guarantee product authenticity. In the dynamic and demanding world of food safety, the ability to swiftly and effectively execute a product recall is of paramount importance. This process, often as a litmus test for a food company's operation resilience, involves complex coordination and swift action. A mock recall is essentially a drill. It's designed to test the effectiveness of a food recall plan, ensuring that if there's a need to swiftly remove a product from the market due to potential safety concern, the mechanisms are in place to do so quickly and efficiently. This proactive approach is vital in mitigating risk associated with food safety incidents, which can range from minor quality issues to significant health hazard. Now we have come to the next topic. That is the third topic of this DQS food safety webinar about the food safety compliance level. To simplify about the food safety compliance level, let's think about the different food safety compliance as climbing up the stairs. Basically, food safety compliance can be visualized as 5 levels, namely with level 1 as compliance to local food safety law, level 2 for GMP compliance, level 3 with HACCP compliance, level 4 with compliance to the ISO 22000 Food Safety Management System Standard, and finally level 5 with compliance to the GFSI recognized certification schemes. Each level shows more robust and more mature food safety management system. As part of level 1 on local food regulation in South Africa, foodstuff in South Africa are regulated by the Department of Health, by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. With level 2 compliance, the certificate of acceptability, usually known as a COA, is typically required for establishment that handle and prepare food, ensuring that they adhere to food safety standards as well as regulations in South Africa. A certificate of acceptability is a compliance certificate issued as per the requirements set out in regulation R638. That is a regulation governing general hygiene requirements for food premises, the transport of food and related matters. This certificate indicates that the establishment meets the necessary hygiene requirements to ensure the safety of the food it handles and serves to the public. It is an essential step to demonstrate your commitment to food safety and to protect consumer health. Level 3 is with regard to the HACCP compliance. In order to achieve HACCP compliance in South Africa, the local organization has to meet the requirements of SANAS 10330, which highlight on the requirements for a food safety system based on prerequisite programs and the HACCP principles, as well as SANAS 10049, which highlight on the food safety management requirements for prerequisite program. In South Africa, the Department of Health require that all producers of ready-to-eat processed meat are R908 HACCP compliant, in addition to meeting the requirements of R638. Now we come to the compliance level 4, which is about the ISO 22000:2018 standard. The ISO 22000:2018 standard is compatible and harmonized with other international management system standard, including ISO 9001, which is a quality management system standard. It is ideal also for integration with existing management systems and processes. ISO 22000, in ISO 22000, use of multi-site sampling is also permitted for farming or handling of animals in category A, farming of plants in category B, trading, retails and e-commerce in category F, and transport and storage services in category G, as per the ISO 22003, the international standard which provides requirements for bodies providing audit and certification on food safety management system. ISO 22000:2018 standard is also applicable to all organizations directly or indirectly involved in the food value chain. Examples of indirectly involved organizations in the food value chain are the suppliers of services such as cleaning services, pest control, or industrial laundry services, to name some, which are part of the category H. For producers of packaging in category I, or producers of detergents, for supplier of equipment, for food, feed and packaging processing in category J. Finally, we have come to the last compliance level, level 5, which is about the GFSI recognized scheme or standard. GFSI stands for Global Food Safety Initiative. The GFSI is a non-profit association of industry experts created in 2002 and committed to improve food safety along the value chain. And the vision of GFSI is to provide safe food for consumers everywhere. The GFSI approved a number of food safety standards covering farming, packaging, storage and distribution. GFSI doesn't provide food safety certification, but rather recognize a number of certification programs that meet the GFSI benchmarking requirements. Some of the common GFSI benchmark standards include BRC, which stands for British Retail Consortium, FSSC 22000, FSSC, which stands as Food Safety System Certification, IFS, which stands as International Featured Standard, SQF, which stands as Safe Quality Food, and also Global GAP, which stands for Good Agricultural Practices. Other GFSI recognized schemes are the Global Red Meat Standard, GRMS, Canada GAP certification for the Global GAP certification and aquaculture to ensure sustainable, responsible practices in fish farming and other aquatic products. Then there is Primus GFS certification, a GFSI standard recognized by buyers in the Western Hemisphere, namely in the United States, Canada, Mexico, and South America. In fact, it is very interesting to note that in 2022, YAM which is an American multinational fast food corporation and which operates the brands of KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and the Habit Burger, has decided to change from their supplier audit program to GFSI recognized third-party certification to be reached before 2025. The main benefits of GFSI recognized scheme are to increase availability to produce safe food, raises employee awareness and knowledge about food safety, enhances company food safety practices, and prepare for forthcoming regulatory compliance. Retailers and other buyers around the world trust GFSI recognized scheme as a mark of the highest standard in food safety, allowing food businesses to hold the certificate to access all corners of the global market.